What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Experience Mental Health. Today's guest is Sheena Stewart, who shares her experience of mental health. Check it out.
Hey everybody, I'm Eric the counselor.
And I'm Des Perry.
This is a lifestyle show
About improving your mental health.
You ready?
Let's experience mental health. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Experience Mental Health podcast.
What's
I'm
up,
your
folks?
host, Des Perry.
And I am Eric the counselor, and today we got another great episode.
Another great episode, man.
I'm not gonna
excited.
steal your
I'm
shine
actually,
this
yeah,
time.
no, you
I'm gonna let you
didn't,
do
because
it.
you definitely stole my shine on the last
let you-
episode. But
I'll let
that's
you have it.
definitely okay.
Yeah.
But no, I'm really enjoying being in here, despite the events that we, Nashville done experienced for the past week.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
beautiful
been
day
rough.
outside today, and just being able to come in here and just have good old conversation about, how I can benefit myself
Yeah.
on the mental side. Yeah.
It's for you too. The show is for
It
everybody.
is.
Let's
It's
put
for
it
me.
that
It's for me. It's for you,
Yeah.
the viewer, all that good stuff. But yeah, so I wanted to
What you
first
want to
acknowledge this Cosby sweater that you got on today.
It's not
I
Cosby.
didn't get that's definitely Cosby
Cosby.
like.
Is it?
That's for sure
Okay,
Cosby.
okay,
That's
well,
but it's good because it's like dark colors. It's kind of modern, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's nice though. It kind of fits your skin tone and all that. Anyways, we have a special guest on the show today.
Yes,
Somebody
very
that I've
special.
known for quite a bit of time. Has like a very special blog. Miss Sheena Stewart on the show.
Hello.
What's going on? How you
Hey,
doing?
friend.
You got to say it right?
Nah,
I'm saying it wrong.
Stewart.
I'm
She's still
Stewart.
Stewart.
You're Stewart.
Together.
I'm wrong already. I'm sorry.
Together.
Miss-
Hey, we ain't even got
Hey.
there yet. We ain't even got there
I
yet.
thought I was right,
So, right. So, okay, Eric
Yeah.
done busted it out. So,
sorry.
go ahead and just kind of like introduce yourself to our listeners and kind of, give them a little background about the blog that you have and some of the things
Yeah,
that
it's
you're
pretty
doing
cool.
here.
Yeah, so I am Sheena Stewart. I have a blog called Love at Any Stage. It started as a date night blog between me and my husband. We date weekly. We would take turns on who would pick the date. And then it started to get very bubblegum to me, and there was no depth to it. Date nights are great, but writing about them every week it was not a labor of love anymore.
Yeah.
So I decided to write about my life. And the first blog post that I wrote was because I heard a John Legend song, Ordinary People, and I thought, oh, wow, this relationship is tough. Then I thought, oh, wow.
That's my jam.
Then I thought, oh, wow, that relationship was us, like,
Yeah.
before.
Uh-huh.
So I think the first one was entitled Before Hutch Stew, We Were Just Ordinary People.
Yeah.
So I wrote about I used the song lyrics. I hang up, you call. That was me hanging up. We rise and we fall.
We
Feel like just
rise
walking
and we
away.
fall,
Yeah.
and
See,
we
so I
both-
used
yeah.
all that.
Issues.
And then it turned into Truth Tuesday. And then I was for a time blogging doing the dates and True Tuesday, and then I just kind of threw the dates to the side. I will write
That
about
is
them one
dope.
day.
Oh, you said
'cause
True
people-
Tuesday?
Truth Tuesday.
Truth Tuesday. What's
So
that?
my
Right.
slogan is
Yeah.
on Tuesday we tell truth. So I write a blog post every Tuesday, and it's about my life. So
Yeah.
a lot of people ask me, do you have like themes, or do you know what you're going to write about? A lot of times I write about them Tuesday morning. That's really bad. Don't do that if you have a blog. That is
Don't wait to the last
that is
second.
horrible. That is horrible. But here recently, I go to a coffee shop on Sunday, and I just sit there, sip my coffee, and then what comes to me, and then I write it. But nothing is ever like planned.
Planned out.
I don't have like
Yeah.
all these blog posts like in my arsenal. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
this one sounds
I
good.
see.
It's
Uh-huh.
whatever happens in my life that week, and I'm like, So me and my husband were having an argument one time, or starting to have an argument, and
Yeah.
he was trying to avoid it. And I
Yeah.
was like, Anthony, without conflict, there's no change. And I was like,
Don't nobody want to hear that.
Right.
That's the last thing. That sounds like something I would say.
I was
though.
like, that's a good blog post.
I
Like,
wouldn't say
hold
that.
on. So back to what we was talking about. So the laundry room, I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna do like that's it was because of the laundry room. I'm the messy one, and he was just like, I
Yeah.
mean, we gotta do something about it. So yeah.
Yeah.
So I write about my life.
I'm wondering, what
That
did you
is
learn
dope.
from doing this, like writing and just the dating? Because first of all, you should date in marriage.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Yes.
Got to.
But like you said before the show started, when you have kids, it kind of changes things.
Yes. You have to be creative.
It makes it
extra
really
creative.
difficult for me and my wife, especially with our schedules, both being entrepreneurs. It's like wild.
Ooh, yeah.
It's just, you never know. But so dating is important. But what did you learn from these experiences and focusing on your relationship that way?
So from doing the dates, it just started out as it was cute. Like it was like something cute to do. There really wasn't much thought behind it because we didn't live together before we got married. So we got married and we both moved to, it was a new neighborhood for both of us.
Yeah.
And the neighborhood itself was new because when we were out with our realtor, like one of the streets that we go on every day wasn't even a street. It was just gravel. So everything was like new in our world. We had both started new jobs. Everything was new. And I was working from home, which I still work from home a lot. And he came in and he was like, hey, you know, you were in the same spot. Did you take a bath today? I'm like, nah.
Did you move?
I didn't take a bath today. Did not. Don't feel bad about that. I brushed my teeth, so that's going to be good enough.
Good enough.
So then he was like, you know, we
ready.
should get you out of the house. Let's like do something. So he suggested that we try a different restaurant every week because we were in a new place. And I'm like, oh, I'm the creative one, so I'm like, that's cute. But let's up the ante and let's do a date night every week and let's pick who, you know, we have to switch weeks on who picks the date. So he was like, I'll go first because it was movies in the park. It was easy. So it was movies in the park.
Super easy.
And it was Space Jam. So that
he was like,
the
come on,
first
babe.
one.
You know what I'm saying? I'm going to take you somewhere nice, girl.
Yeah, he's like, and so we don't know like what the date is until like you get there.
So it's like a surprise to whoever's.
Yeah,
is not
one time we
planning
did like a ballroom dancing class, and so I had to tell him wear this type of attire.
Yeah.
Be ready at this time.
dope.
And then
That
we
is dope.
get there and they're like, are you whatever? And he's like, I don't know anything. I don't even know who we are.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't even know who we
I
are.
guess. And I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like,
That's
yeah.
us.
I'm here like
That's
running
us.
up like, yeah, that's a. And one time we did like a mixology class at the house and I was like in the back getting dressed and I heard the doorbell. I'm like, dang it. And so they're like, oh yeah, we're here. And he was like,
Wrong.
Wrong.
sorry, I know.
So
And
this
they were
ain't-
like, your wife said something about a date, and he was like, oh yeah, come on in, strangers. Like, yeah, my wife again. So we would just take turns on like
That's
who
funny.
picked the day, and the further like the. You know, as we kept doing it, then it you had to put more thought into it because it's like, oh wait, we've already done this before. We can't do this again, or we can, you know, you have to remix it, put like a spin on it. But then it turned into like deeper date nights where we did one that was one of my favorites where I call it like the discrimination date night. We went to Canada, we went to Toronto, like I think first year of marriage, and so we were going up the CN Tower and I saw a man of Middle Eastern descent, and so I got like nervous, and that's not me, but it's like my prejudice like came out and I was like, what is wrong with you? Like you legit over here acting like people that you like, that is not
Just
cool.
on the elevator going up or something?
Just on the, he was like fidgeting with a backpack. I'm like, Lord, I just got married. I'm not trying to just, you know.
Yeah.
So we get to the top, and then he like had a camera, and he was like, so I went to go talk to him, like, that ease your fears, go talk to him. So I went to go talk to him, like, hey, how's it going? He was like, oh yeah, this is nice. I just got a new camera. I want to take like some shots. It's like beautiful view.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll take the picture of you. So he gives me the camera and I take a picture. Then I'm like feeling like really bad. He was like, I can take a picture of y'all. So I give him my phone, like we talk, and I'm just like, you are such a jerk. Like you did, you know, all of that. So for that date night, I got home, wrote a letter to someone of the same background, telling them about my prejudice, and then I put like $20 bill in the envelope. So on the other side, my husband had to write a letter to a police officer talking about being a black man in America and the injustices that he faced. Wow. So he wrote the letter, put a $20 bill in there. So we went to the mosque, I think 12 South area. So I saw a nice man coming out of the mosque, and I stopped and talked to him. We stopped and talked to him in the parking lot for like 20 minutes or so, and I told him about the ordeal. And we just sat there, and like the conversation just flowed and flowed and flowed. Yeah. And then we hugged it out. He told me that he didn't need the money, but he knew some people in there that needed it inside the mosque. So he said that he would keep the letter, but he would give the money to somebody else. Yeah. Then we rode around town trying to find a police officer. I'm like, then when you don't want to find one,
right?
We found. We called the precinct. They're like, everyone's out. You just have to like find one. So we were like driving everywhere, and we finally found like a police car at Barbecue. So we're like, stop. And then we see him eating, and we're like, hey, we know clearly you're off the clock, but can we? He was like, yeah. So we told him what we were doing. My husband handed him the letter. We had a conversation with him, got a picture with him. So that was like one of my favorite one.
I swear, okay, because that was gonna be my next question. Because you already like mentioned like some epic ones. So I guess like what's one that's like the most memorable that let's say he planned? That's something that just was unexpected.
That he planned. So come in, he's like, "Hey, can you go upstairs?" I'm like, "All right, cool." So I go upstairs. And I hear pots. I'm like, oh, he's about to cook. This is about to be great. He can cook way better than me. Oh, man, this is going to be great. So then I come downstairs, and I'm like, I don't smell any food. Okay. But I see, like, a projector, like something projected on the wall. And so I'm like, okay, what is this? So it's like karaoke cook-off. And I'm like, karaoke, like, this doesn't even make any sense.
That's what's
like,
on the wall.
Yeah, I'm like, what is this? Like, yeah, karaoke something. So I'm like, all right, this Top Chef karaoke, that's what it was. And I was like, Top Chef, what is this? Doesn't make any sense. So we were watching a lot of Top Chef at the time. So he told me to pick like card 1 or 2. And I'm like, okay. So I picked one. He was like, I'm so glad you did because the other one would have had you using the grill. And I was like, I've never used a grill in my life. That was a setup. Thank you, God. That's what happened there. So he had the like all ingredients like on my side, ingredients on his side. So we had 30 minutes to make 2 turkey dishes. Like mine was on the stove, his was outside on the grill. And then we had to plate them, and I had to make enough for like we both had to make enough for ourselves and then each other. And so his looked amazing. Mine was bad because I started off, I put too much water. I can't cook. It just whatever.
Hey, these are great
and
ideas.
So
no, they are.
So then like we sat down, like it's like okay. And then we ate them. Again, God was looking out for your girl. I won mine. It didn't look great, but it tasted.
So who judged this?
Right, that's what was my next question.
It was fair. It was us. For this part, we judged it. And he was like, I got to give it to you. Like, mine did look better, but yours tasted better. And we talking about food. It's like, you got to have a taste. So the second part was the karaoke part. So we went upstairs, and he had, in my bonus room upstairs, camera set up. Karaoke, so we had the projector. So we each had to pick.
I was going to say, there's footage of this?
Yes, I still have it if you would like to see it.
Yeah, we definitely
need So we had the projector set up again. We had to pick 2 songs. And my first one was Gin and Juice. So I ran downstairs. We had like 10 minutes to get dressed. So we like running down the steps, going in our room, like running to each other. I had like my khakis, my button down, rolled up some paper, like some writing paper, guys. And then I went and got some alcohol. When I got some alcohol, like out of the kitchen, and so I did Gin and Juice. And I think his was something by Diddy because I remember he has to rock. So that was number 1. And then we had a second song. I did Proud Mary, so I had like a nice dress on.
Dress and the whole
Yes. And then he did something with Outkast because he was under 3,000. So we recorded that and then created a Survey Monkey because we didn't trust ourselves. Created a Survey Monkey and we sent it to friends. And he got like 1 vote from his best friend just because it's
crazy. How many people y'all sent it to?
His best friend. I think we sent it to like thinking back, it wasn't great to send it to an odd number. I sent it to 3 people. He sent it to 3 people, but
his best friend
came through. Yeah, his best friend came through from. But that was
so all these great ideas about how couples can, stay fun in your relationship,
which is great. And I mean, I should really still blog about it, but from a writing perspective, it is draining, and I don't like to do things to drain me. So I can give people ideas, which I do. Some people still hit me up about it, and people still hit the blog when I look at my analytics. I'm like, man, y'all looking at that date from 2017. Way to go. Like,
it's all good. One thing that I saw, if I can ask you about this, as you said, vulnerability is your superpower.
Yes.
And vulnerability in counseling is a superpower. I tell my clients all the time. Vulnerability is a measure of one's courage. So talk to us about how you use your vulnerability as a superpower, and what does it mean? Like, how does it show up in your life? Like,
because I was writing about the dates and the whole ordinary people blog post, so I wrote it and I was like hype about it. I'm like, this is gonna be great. Oh my god, like they gonna love this. Oh man, right? Looking through my phone, what picture can go with this? Oh, so then I like show it to Anthony. I'm like, this is gonna be good. I'm gonna come up with something. Like I hadn't thought of True Tuesday yet, but I was like, this is gonna be good.
Yeah.
So like we're in front of each other and he's reading and I'm like, not really the facial expression.
You could already see this is probably gonna be bad.
This is not.
He ain't liking it. He ain't.
No, like all these. I'm like, maybe like talking about like maybe some like grammatical errors. I'm like, I'll clean them up later. Like, is that what it is? And he's like, so yeah, I don't know about this. I'm like, why not? He was like, because I don't really want people in our lives. I'm like, but they are in our lives already. It's just the good stuff. Right. So you have to give people the whole. Like that's not fair.
Yeah.
Like that's not a true representation. And so he was like, I don't really know. And so we were like meeting someone, which probably wasn't the best time for me to let somebody read that. Hindsight. So then the next morning.
Oh, by the way, read this.
Yeah, read this. Right, you get mad at it because I tell all our secrets and then be happy because we meet these people in an hour. So the next morning he wakes up and he's like, I thought about it. You're right. Like, I mean, it's uncomfortable for me, but.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not the most comfortable thing for me, but like, hey, like I want to put it out there. So I put it out there and then like people started to contact me and drove. I'm like, wow, I thought y'all liked the dates. And it's like people were sending me screenshots of like their husbands like, have you been telling Sheena our business? Like, what is, women were reading and then sending it to their like husbands or significant others. And they're like, oh my God, like, did she know about us? I'm like, no, that was all us. So I just got a lot of feedback from it. So every time that I would press send, it's kind of like it was a hesitation back then when I started like, send. Yeah. And then just the feedback I would get, it made my like superpower come out. So any Marvel thing that I've watched because of my husband, but I like them now. Everybody has an origin story. So I guess like that's my origin story. It's like I didn't know that power was already within. I just had to have the courage, like you said, to break free and press the send button. And then it just opened up so much. And now it goes to the point where people are like, I appreciated you sharing that, but why? Why would you put put the notes from your therapist on your blog? Because it's gonna help somebody. That's why. Like I like that was 10 years ago. I'm not that person anymore. That's a totally different person that walked into therapy 10 years ago than the person that's sitting right here. So I can talk about her all day. She doesn't exist anymore.
And so you know the exact date you started therapy.
February 6, 2010.
We just passed.
That's like 10 years ago. Yeah. You've been in therapy for 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah. So what is therapy doing for you in your life? I mean,
oh, wow.
Because, black people don't go to therapy.
Black people don't go to therapy.
Clearly.
No.
Clearly not. So.
I mean, and 10 years ago, it's not something that I talked about a lot. And then social media, I mean, we had social media, but it wasn't where it is now.
Right.
So
first, what made you even start going to therapy?
This story for people who have been following me, they clearly know this, but this is an interesting story. So I'm 20-something. I'm headed out, going somewhere. Can't find my keys, and I'm like living in an apartment, single. So I'm living in an apartment. I can't find my keys, and I started to like punch and kick the walls, like not just like dang, like punching and kicking, like real mad, like Cuba Gooding Jr. and Boys to Men. I'm like that,
swinging hard,
and nobody was there to help me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is not normal. So I like sit down and like kind of talk to myself like, okay, like why are you acting like this? So I do have a family member that is a therapist. So I reached out to her and was like, something just can't be normal, right? I mean, I don't need to sugarcoat, like just give it to me straight. This is not normal. And she was like, no, it's not. So she doesn't live here, but she did send me a list of therapists in this area. And so I'm like, so I just kind of randomly picked one. I didn't there was no rhyme or reason to it. I just.
And you still with the same one?
I'm still with the same one.
Wow.
And I know because my husband now, but when we were dating, we did couples therapy before we even got engaged. And I did not like that lady. So I know it's just, I'm blessed to go to one person and still be with her 10 years later. But so I selected her and we've been.
So your therapy started because you had a anger outburst and you were like, this ain't right.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how many people have had that same experience.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people are listening right now and can honestly say, I just had an outburst the other day where I punched a hole in the wall or pushed somebody or did something.
Yeah.
And they might normalize it and say, oh, it's normal. I'm just mad.
Yeah.
But that's what triggered you to go to therapy. And you've been going for 10 years.
10 years. So once, clearly, I mean, that's just a symptom of something else.
Right.
So I went and I'm trying to figure out, clearly, why am I so angry? That makes absolutely no sense that it would, escalate to that level. So then I realized that, which I knew that I had like child abuse in my past, but it's just had been repressed. And so then I pushed it down. And then when I went to therapy, we slowly uncovered that, and then I was able to work through that, and then it's like, oh, I like it here, I want to stay here, and so I continued to go. So it went from once a week. At that time she was like, yeah, I'm gonna need you to come once a week, and I'm like, yeah, I'm punching walls, so I can see that. I can see why you need me to be here that much. So it went from that
property
to like,
damage.
right, I don't own this. You're saving me, and I'm not sure if my insurance covers this. So it went from once a week, then like twice a month to monthly, and then it just went to maintenance, where I would go 3 to 4 times a year. And then the past couple years or so, I'm just like, you know what, I want to go once a month. And then last year, when I found out I was pregnant, I was like, let's do every 3 weeks now. Let's bump that. So it kind of changes just depending on my life.
It's good to have a therapist.
Yes.
Like I call it like everybody, like a pastor. You don't really need a pastor until you need one, for marriage, funeral, whatever it is. But if you have a regular maintenance, you go regularly, it's just always good to have it. So when you have an issue, you already have someone that you've established a relationship with. It's not starting over, but it's more like a continuation, and let's deal with what you present today. That's what it sounds like how you're using counseling today.
So last year we talked about trying to start a family in February. So we were like, don't ask me. February is just a month that I just came
right. Everything that's y'all's month.
I was like, February.
I was going to ask you what happened last February.
Let's go. I found out on Valentine's Day I was pregnant.
Okay, all right.
You mean like a few weeks ago? Found out you were pregnant?
No,
last year.
So so I walked into therapy like in January, not knowing that I was already pregnant, because we were going to start in February. But that's a different story. So so I walked in and I sat down and I'm like, okay, we got an hour. I need 30 minutes on my dad and 30 minutes on my mom, because I am trying to become a parent. So I got to figure out if I have any stuff like that is I'm still dealing with them. So we need to like work this out. So we have talked about my dad a lot. And even in the notes from my first session, that was one of the things that like we discussed. So it didn't really take too much time, because we talked about that over the years. So we spent a lot of time like focusing on like mom-daughter relationship, which is great because I have 2 girls. So I'm like, okay, that actually came in handy. So really last year I just focused on parenting, parent-daughter, mom-daughter relationship, but from like trying to look at it from the other side, since I was becoming a parent. Of course, as the months went by, like I knew I was pregnant, and then as the further went along, I'm like, then I knew I was like, having girls. So I'm like, okay, that really helps that we're working on that mom-daughter dynamic. So
you know what I'm wondering, right? I'm sitting here thinking about my wife and how we've been married 9 years. We have 2 kids, and I just think about how tired and like how much she puts into being a mom. And it's a lot of women's going through it. So like, how are you balancing motherhood and working and just life? Like, talk to us about like the psyche of a mom.
Therapy helped because when I went a couple weeks ago, we talked about that. Like we talked about, and I have a history of depression. So I've had like 2 really bad episodes of it, one in college, and then actually to the end of 2018, but I didn't like admit it to the beginning of last year. So I was just I lied, like I would go into therapy and be like, yeah, I have some issues, but like depression never came up. Be like, and then I was talking to my husband, like everything's fine. And then as soon as he would like leave and like go to work, I would just start crying. And then like I texted him one day, he was like, I knew something was off, but like I just really didn't know how to like approach it. Like, so because of like my history with depression, I felt that postpartum depression, I kind of like made my peace with it. Like, I know it's going to happen. Like, I know it's going to happen. So that's why I was very diligent also in the months that I had, you know, while being pregnant, to really focus on that part as well. Like, let's focus on like getting me prepared but it never happened. So I like attribute that to like me
The
really
therapy
being
that
in
you was
therapy.
going to,
Like,
yeah.
all the preparation I did.
Yeah.
And then I didn't have to necessarily use that. But I also try to figure out what being a mom would look like for me, like not other people.
Yeah.
And I feel like my marriage helped in that aspect because, for instance, I mean, I didn't change my last name. So that's like nothing to me, but it's odd to some people.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand that. Or we don't look at it as my husband, he's the head like of the house, that we're it's not 50-50 because that's just not realistic.
Right.
But we
Glad
try
you
to
said
make
that,
it we
Yeah.
try to make like find balance and harmony.
Yeah.
So if you find that, then it's great. Knowing sometimes that my load is going to be heavier, but
Yeah.
then just other
Yeah.
times
There's really never
it
no
is-
50-50.
Yeah.
No, it
just-
ebbs and flows.
it's not
Like,
doing it,
I wrote a blog post about that, and it's just like, if you ever see the scale and it's like perfectly balanced, take a picture. Like, take a picture
Right.
at that moment, because
ain't
2
coming
seconds
back.
later, it's like, it's gone.
It's
Like,
gone.
just- don't worry about that. So, I think a couple weeks ago when I went to therapy, I talked about it, and we were talking about mom guilt, and I said,
that's real.
I've never experienced it. I
You
don't.
haven't?
No.
Good.
I
don't even know anything
not
about it,
feel
so-
guilty.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel guilty when, like, right now I'm here and my
Right.
husband is at home
Yeah.
with 2 5-month, like, not
Right.
one. We have twins,
2
but
of 'em.
2 5-month-old
You can make it,
Going
bro.
through it.
I just want you to
Probably
know
going through
we here with you.
So, like, he was out this morning, like,
Yeah.
running around doing some stuff, and then he came home and we tag team. It's like, okay. And as I'm leaving out, he was like, hey, I know, like, the podcast, that's not going to take too long.
He's
I
like, hello,
sent
you gonna be home at what
He's
time?
actually the opposite.
No,
He
that's
was
how
like-
it is.
He was
I
like,
mean,
I sent you. He was like,
right.
I'm gonna send you this thing. Like, this girl at work says you might like. I think it fits. Like, I think it's this afternoon. You should probably like go
Oh, I
look
see.
at that.
Yeah, yeah.
Or if I'm like texting, like, hey, how the girls doing? Oh, we're doing good. Like,
Yeah.
don't come home. No, like,
Yeah.
you should stay out like a couple more hours. So,
That's great that you
Yeah.
I try to be
Right.
the same way because I have, like, I guess dad guilt.
Yeah.
Because I'm gone a lot. And I know my wife's at home with the kids. And I'm just like, man, like, when she's gone, when
Yeah.
she is gone, I'm like, no, it's cool. We got it. Just stay out later. The same thing as your husband is doing. And I know that helps.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I know she's trying to, maybe she doesn't tell me the pressure as much as I should know about because she's with those kids a lot. And even when I'm with my kids, I can't even talk to you on the phone. I
Man,
can't
what?
really do
Soon
anything
as
Nah,
you walk
you
in the
can't.
house,
other than
Yeah,
just
yeah.
be with the kids.
you hear him in the
know what I'm
background. I was like, oh, they
And so
turning up.
that mom guilt is real.
Yeah.
And dad guilt, I think, is real too for some of us. You know?
Dang, so okay, so I ain't got no kids. you know,
Enjoy
what I'm saying?
it
I'm
while it
sitting back
lasts.
like, what? Y'all feeling guilty? But I mean, I think that this is a really great conversation because I don't think that's something that I guess people who don't have kids who may plan to have kids. I mean, me and my wife talk about having kids all the time. We're not rushing the process at all. But I know that's one thing we never discussed.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think- yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
even a thing until you're in it.
until
Like,
you're in it.
and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
someone
But
says,
I
"Oh,
mean, that's
mom
something
guilt."
to just to kind of,
Yeah.
I guess, kind of wrap my mind around, you know, in this moment, you know, with me not. And yes, I am fortunate. And, you know what I'm saying, trying to appreciate this time of me not having any children to tend to. But, you know, when that time comes, it's like, I don't know, is there a balance that you find between there? Like, how do you find it? Or you just in there doing
I mean,
your
for
thing?
me, it's just in therapy realizing that as corny as or cliche, I guess cliche as it might sound, you really have to take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
If you don't, then everything else
man, it
falls
kinda
apart.
falls, yeah.
So if I think of that, if I think of I have to take care of myself first, then I'm not going to experience any guilt because when I'm away from them,
Yeah.
there's a reason I'm away from them. Either I'm working,
Yeah.
so I'm making money to take
Yeah,
care of them.
yeah.
I'm doing things like this. This is I'm very passionate about mental health. I'm
Yeah.
very passionate about creative spaces, and so all of that. This is helping me.
Yeah.
If I go out for brunch, that's helping me.
Yeah.
All of these things are things that I need to have in life. And before we had kids, I was really big on like if I would be not just in depressed, like one of my depressed like episodes, it was like more sadness, but like because I do, you know, I've suffered from depression and anxiety. My husband like sees that and he's like kind of like, oh, are we about to take this roller coaster again? I'm like, no, we're not there yet. So he's like, you know, bracing himself for it. Because of those things, like I'm making sure that I really do, keep myself in, I guess, tip-top shape, mental tip-top shape, so that I'm not.
It's important.
So that I'm making sure that all of these things that I need to make me happy in life, I'm doing those things so that I'm happy and I'm full and I can help them, be happy and full and teach them. And also just talking to my husband and making him realize that he can't make me happy. Like, it's up to me to make me happy. So
can you say that again? But like, look right into this camera. Look
that
right
right
here.
there. Look right
say,
there.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay, so my husband, my therapist, my mother, no one can make me happy but me.
And that's not only for her, that's for all of us.
All of us,
Our happiness is our responsibility.
Yes. And then when you do have a partner, like they do, they feel it. So if you're not happy, they try to, which, I mean, that's great. I mean, you're looking out. But then, like, on the deeper level, I'm like, you are an amazing husband. Don't take this personally. And I understand where you would, because if your partner's sad, then you're like, what am I?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Fulfilling?
Do that. I mean, it's a good point that you even said that, because that's sometimes how I feel. Especially if she's in kind of like a mood where she's not in the best of moods. Period. And again, you mentioned it. I feel that.
Yeah,
I feel it. So it's like, hey. Hey, babe.
See, this is why Jackie wants to be on the show, so she can speak for herself.
She know I'm right, though.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So listen, you are like hitting on a lot of good stuff that I'm telling you.
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure. What do you
really
want
quick about that? So when we're like dealing with something and it's something that I've experienced, like depression, and he hasn't, or vice versa, something that I'm not going to fully understand because I'm not a man.
Yeah.
So we try to use this rule of getting to 7 or 8, and it's just something I said randomly one day, and I'm like, oh, we could probably actually use that. So if on a scale of 1 to 10, like 10, you know about it, like you've experienced it, like you've been there. That's not going to happen because he's never been depressed. So if I can keep talking about it to the point where he understands it to like the level of a 7 or 8, that's about the highest he's going to get. And then he's never experienced it. Then it's like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, so I'm like, where are you? I'm about like a 6. Okay, well, let's just table this because we talked about it enough. Let's come back tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow, like we slept on it. Like, let's keep talking about it. I got it now. Like, the light bulb goes off and you see like the light. Okay, I'm there. Like, I'm with you. So I like understanding it in the level of like just your capacity. You're not going to understand it on a 10 if you've never been through it. So like just to trying to set up those expectations, like you're not, you're setting yourself up. If I'm talking to him about depression and he doesn't or like he's not going to, and that's how I used to be. I'm like, why don't you get it? Because I've never been there. Don't you get that,
and that's another good point, because, and this is one thing that I mentioned to her often too, we're two different people, had two different lifestyles, and we come together and we experience different things, so I know for both of us, we want to understand each other. So, having that, like, that grade scale where you kind of, like, see where we are on the grade scale and see, okay, I'm at, like, about a 5, and then you can help me get to an 8, so you can better understand each other. Because that's really, to me, is what I'm learning about marriage, understanding my mate. You know what I'm saying? And understanding, and, I don't prejudge, I don't, make her feel bad, or at least hopefully I don't. Look, I'm talking about. Anyway,
y'all need some counseling.
but no, I think that's a really good point to just truly just understand each other and how we may feel about certain things in different situations and stuff like that. So
it sounds like you and your husband are communicating well.
Yes,
and that's a big part of having a successful, partnership with kids, marriage. Like, life goes on, and the understanding thing is, you're right. Like, you're not going to be able to understand something that you've never been through. So when I have clients to tell me that their parents are deceased or whatever, something that I haven't been through, I'll let them know, like, hey, I can't tell you that I understand. I'm gaining an understanding about it the more you tell me about it, and that's the most that I can understand. I can empathize with you, but I don't understand because I hadn't been in that seat before. And so it sounds like you and your husband have this great relationship. You said that
it depends on what's there.
Yeah, I know how it goes. I mean, I know how it goes. But at least you guys have the tools in place to help navigate this marriage thing and
I mean,
it work,
even for instance, like last night I was like, hey, dude, like I like no, you're not understanding me. Like we're talking, and it's like you're talking over there and I'm talking over here, and we're not like hearing each other. I'm like, I just need a break. Like I can't do this. Like I've reached my limits. I'm like, I'm gonna step away. I've done like my nightly chores that I need to do. You're still doing yours. I'm walking to the bedroom. So then like when he comes in, he was like, I need to talk. I'm like, that's great. I can't listen right now. I'm not there. I'm just.
Do you
not
learn
there.
these things in therapy?
Yes.
Because a lot of this is like what goes on in therapy.
Yes, and when I'm not like in a session, like I email my therapist and I'm like, so dear therapist, yesterday, and then we might have like a conversation, like a couple days conversation via email.
Yeah.
I mean, and so that works. So I take that and then I try to implement
So
it
therapy,
into our marriage.
your individual therapy is helping you improve your relationship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it helps me with all
everything, your whole life.
Yeah, everything. But I mean, of course, there are seasons. So like, I try to focus on parenting or my parents to figure out holes that, could be filled in before I became a parent. Yeah. I mean, and like now, with marriage, that's a tough one because I am married to Anthony. I'm the only person on this earth married to Anthony. Right. So it's kind of hard to, I mean, there are parenting books and things like that. And there are marriage books, and that's awesome. Mm-hmm. I think it's very surface level stuff because other than that, it's like tailor made. Like it should be tailor made for him and I. So nobody else can really tell me how to be a wife to him. Yeah. Because I'm the only person married to him. So I try to take stuff from therapy and then spin it like, oh, that helped. How could it help in our, our overall?
Why are you so passionate about mental health?
Because I've been, in college when I truly had my first episode and I didn't understand it at all. And I still don't know, I guess, and I was about to go down that path, trying to figure out why. I guess that was my thing. Like, well, why? Like, where did this come from? Like, why did it happen? All I know is I was just a college student, and then one day I really wasn't because I stopped going to class. I was on the couch, like, just crying every day. I'm an emotional person, but I'm not a crier. Yeah. So I find other ways to, get my emotions out, and crying is really one of them. So I'm like, this is very odd. Yeah. And then I'm not going to class, and it's not just I went to a party and I don't want to go the next day. It's like, I'm like, I need to get up, but my mind is like, stay here. Mm-hmm. So that's when I didn't go to therapy then. I'm not sure how I got through that. I think I was on medication for like a year. So I went to the doctor and they put me on it, and then I went myself off, and then I didn't go to therapy for I guess another 5 years or so. Yeah. So I'm really passionate about it. And then, like I said, I had another episode last year, really started in 2018, but I kind of really talked about it and dealt with it in 2019. Mm-hmm. So I know if I'm going through it, then somebody else is going through it. So that's my whole point of Truth Tuesday is there's people are like, how are you so vulnerable? Like, how are you able to share? And I used to say that I have no shame, but then I realized I have shame, but my vulnerability is so powerful that it will defeat shame every day. So I press in and I just go about my business. Yeah,
I mean, like I said, vulnerability.
Yeah, I'm like, I wrote a blog about being shameful. I'm like, hey guys, these are the things that I'm shameful about. Like I carry shame with these things, and then I talked about them in detail. Yeah. And I'm just like, okay,
man, that's great vulnerability.
Yeah, because I know somebody else has gone through it. Yeah. So there's no story that hasn't been told. What does Shakespeare say? It's only 3 or 4 categories.
Okay, I don't either.
Getting a little bit too much. But it's only 3 or 4 categories or something that stories that can be told. So I mean, somebody somebody else has gone through it, and if they haven't, then when they do, then they can use my blog as oh, okay, it'll make them feel better. I'm not alone.
Yeah. Do you think that your husband Anthony has kind of picked up some of these traits of being vulnerable and being able to open up a little bit about himself?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen growth within our marriage, and it sucks when you preach something and then it kind of backfires on you because we might have an argument and I'm like, oh, I'm doing all that, and then I'm like, man, forget him, and then he'll come in and pick up the remote and put the TV on pause, and I'm like, I was watching that. He's like, so I really want to talk. We really need to get to the bottom of this. And in my mind, I'm like, hey, that's great. It's like
Yeah.
one of those, like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
memes or whatever. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And then, like, outwardly, I'm like, I don't want to talk.
Yeah,
Right.
Then I'm like, you know, so it's like, I'm happy, like, yes. And then the other part is like,
I
you
don't want
can't
don't
use
it
this
on me.
against me. Yeah.
right.
I think I feel.
You're not
Right.
going
I'm
to.
the
You're not
counselor,
going to
man,
do
you
me.
know.
You know, you're not going to why me to
Come
death.
on,
Because I
bruh.
was like, why to, like, okay.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, but why? That's
Yeah.
not the real reason. Why?
Can I give you a little tip
Yes, please.
to replace why?
Uh-huh.
And it's for everybody. Everybody. So why is a defensive question.
Yes.
It puts you in a defensive place. So instead, you want to know the reasons, right?
Yes.
You just said it. So instead of asking why, just say, so what are the reasons that?
That's a good one. See, we can get there this weekend.
Go right to it.
just give it
Eliminate
straight
all
to it.
the
Why
all the
you-
pit stops.
What are the reasons that you feel this
Because you
way?
make that
You
stank
know?
face with the why, like, why
Why
you
though?
even,
Like,
That
why
like,
you
why you say that?
Why
Like,
you, why
you
you
gotta
looking like
defend
that?
it.
Why you?
You have to defend yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah, like,
yeah.
oh, I did it because of this. But if you ask, well, what are the reasons that you did this
Yeah.
or whatever? It's like,
Yeah.
all right, cool. Well, here's the reasons why. So that's a little tip, you know.
You can write the reasons why.
can.
that.
Don't ask why, but say what instead.
What?
What?
What are the reasons that we
What?
do? Are
See,
we
then
doing
I'm
this?
like, now I'm what?
You practicing.
Yeah.
You gotta take
Russell
the stank,
Westbrook,
take the stank
what?
face.
What are the
Right,
reasons?
what?
You
Y'all
gotta say,
tripping, bro.
what are the reasons?
Oh my bad, I got stuck
Yes,
at
what are
what?
the
I got
reasons?
stuck at.
Yeah.
We gotta get past that.
What are
And
the
lose,
reasons?
and lose the
Yeah.
stank face. The face gotta go.
I can't do the Russell
You can't do
Westbrook.
the
Nah,
you
that
can't
ain't
do
gonna cut
it.
it because it's still like the why.
Exactly.
Okay,
Now I'm
okay.
defensive all over again.
We're working on this. No, I mean, I'm really glad that you came in. That's
Yeah.
what this show is about.
Yeah.
Getting people to tell their stories, people can connect with it, and you find what's useful and help them in their own life. Like, you're not the only one going through what you're going through. I'm not, Des, you're not.
Yeah.
Nobody is. You're not the only one. And so having these types of outlets to express it and share it and be vulnerable, it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it just
Yeah.
shows, again, it just shows me that you're a courageous woman.
Thank you.
You're courageous.
Yeah.
So as we finish today's episode, what, like, we always give our guests an opportunity to
Yep.
share, like, last words or, like, what would you say to a woman? And we know a lot of women listen to our show and watch it. And well, it's like 50-50. What would you say to all the people, especially the women who are listening, who might be struggling, trying to balance life, and you know they might be married, just had kids? Like, what would you say to them?
Give yourself grace. I mean, give yourself grace.
Yeah.
And what I have been telling myself since we've had children is that everything is temporary. Like this
Yeah.
is like I'm can have a bad day or I'm like struggling with something. I'm like, everything is temporary. Everything is temporary.
Yeah.
This is just a phase. This is a stage. And if I'm there too long, then I need to reach out and do something different. I need to find help. And as far as being in spaces, I allow myself to be in a space. And that's something I've had to talk to my husband about and work with him on. Like, hey, if I'm in this space, I'm okay. Like, if you start to see me sink further, then like send help. But if I'm just like in this, be like, hey, how's your day? I had a bad day. Like that's okay. Like I'm very blunt like that. Like I'm like, hey, that's like just let me sit in it and feel through it, because if I like don't do that, it's not gonna be good for us because I'm still gonna feel that.
Right,
so like give yourself grace, feel the emotions that you need to feel, and then reach out, talk to somebody, find something that makes you feel better. For me, it's music. I will like leave here and have a car concert, and
I'm the best.
The
Those was the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about to men? What would you say to guys?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I
That's
don't know.
okay.
I mean,
That's a real answer.
I'm a big proponent of therapy to everybody. So therapy, try to practice vulnerability, tiptoe into the vulnerability waters. Please don't dive in.
Don't dive all the way
Right.
in.
Ooh, don't do
Right.
it. Don't do it. Yeah.
And that's, I mean, you say a lot of good things that men can use actually. And so when they're listening to you talk and you're talking about the things that your husband is doing, those are things that, other men could do. Be patient, be understanding, allow you to sit in your feelings, have date nights, have it planned already. Like, allow your wife, if she just had a baby, to go out and like be free.
Have a car concert.
Have a car concert. A top shelf cook-off. Like,
Right.
guys, we play a role in this too.
Yeah.
So Sheena, it's been great to have you.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Let the listeners and viewers know how they could find about your blog and stay in touch with you.
Yes, again, I'm Sheena Stewart, and my blog is Love at Any Stage.
Love at
we're
Any
gonna
Stage.
drop it
That's
down
on,
on the bottom.
on IG.
Yep,
Is it
IG.
only Instagram?
No, Instagram, and then my blog, my website.
That's your website.
What's the website? Did you say that already?
LoveAtAnyStage.com.
LoveAtAnyStage.com.
All right now.
Love
Well,
it
again,
in
once
stage.
again, Sheena, thank you so much for
Thank
coming on
you.
here, being vulnerable with us
Yes.
Yes.
here at Experience Mental Health.
It's awesome.
And so, once again, for our viewers and our listeners, make sure that subscribe to the show. If you want to become a podcaster subscriber,
A podcaster subscriber.
is that the proper name for it? I don't know. Anyways,
If you
just
wanna
text
subscribe
us.
to the show.
Text us EMH at 13996.
That's not it. You just messing it all up.
Yeah, it is.
It's not.
What
it's
is it?
31996.
Okay, I had to.
If you want to subscribe to the show,
Why
the
you
audio
just
version,
ain't do it?
Be
Why
sure
you
to
just ain't
send us
do
a
it?
text
Golly.
message with EMH to
I
31996.
thought I had it right. You see, I came in with confidence too.
How about the
I came
YouTube?
in 13996.
You did.
I was like, that ain't it. Wait a minute.
That ain't it. Or you can subscribe to the YouTube channel where
Yeah.
we are growing that
Yeah.
fan base there.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you. If you have any questions for Sheena or you want to give her any message or anything,
Yeah.
send it to us. We'll send it to her, or you can just send it
Reach
directly
out
to
to
her.
directly. Yep.
And it'll be that.
Yep.
Any last words, DP?
No, stop asking me if I got last words.
Okay. Well, that's going to do it for today's edition of Experience Mental Health. We hope you have enjoyed today's show and make it a great day.
Make it a great day.
Peace. Yo, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please like, comment, and share this with all of your friends. And also be sure to subscribe and then go check out some of our past episodes. Make it a great day.